Hey everybody, we're going to work on trig today. So that's sine, cosine, and tangent. There are three other trig ratios, trig functions that we are not going to talk about here in geometry. You'll get those in Algebra 2 trig, secant, cosecant, and cotangent. But for us, we're just going to worry about sine, cosine, and tangent. So it's super important that you only do the highlighted skills here. Do not go try to do the other skills. We're not going to talk about those. That is for a whole nother class, okay? We're going to start with trig ratios, sine, cosine, and tangent. So that's R1. Remember that we can use SOH CAH TOA. SOH CAH TOA. That sine of your angle equals the ratio of opposite over hypotenuse. And cosine of your angle equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent of your angle equals opposite over adjacent. So tangent, T equals O over A. Cosine equals A over H. And sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. Remember from last week how we went across the triangle and labeled hypotenuse, always across from the right angle, opposite, always opposite the angle you're given, and then adjacent is going to be your other angle. So here we're going to find the cosine of R. So R is the angle we care about. We're going to do cosine, which means we need adjacent and hypotenuse. So I've got my hypotenuse. That's always the easiest one to find. Then I can go across the triangle. That's my O. That's the one we're not going to use because we're looking for cosine. And then we've got the A. So the ratio of adjacent over hypotenuse is going to be 48 over 73. I come down here and type that in, 48 over 73. Okay. So here we're looking for sine. Every single time you want to write SOH CAH TOA. We're looking for sine from S. So we're going to do sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. So we're going to need the opposite side, opposite, and then the hypotenuse, and then this is the A, and we're not going to use that because we're using sine. Opposite over hypotenuse is going to be 45 over 53. 45 over 53. Remember that hypotenuse is always along the side, and we can submit. Let's do a couple more just to make sure you feel confident with them. Oops. Remember SOH CAH TOA. Sine opposite hypotenuse. So CAH, cosine adjacent hypotenuse, and then TOA. It's like you're speaking some new language, right? Sine opposite hypotenuse, cosine adjacent hypotenuse, tangent opposite adjacent. We're looking for the cosine, and we're going to start at R. So we're starting at R. We've got the opposite. For cosine, we're not going to use the O, so we don't need that 48. We've got the hypotenuse. That's the 52. And that leaves the 20 for the adjacent. So I'm going to make my ratio A over H, which is going to be 20 over 52. This is a good time to pause the video. Do one or two by yourself to make sure that you know how to do it. And then if you, oh no, what did I do wrong? 20 over 52. 20 over 52. If I divide by 2, will give me 10 over 26. I can divide by 2 again and get 5 over 13. Or I can go straight from 20 over 52, divide by 4, and then I get 5 over 13. We always want to reduce these as low as they can possibly go. So 5 over 15 is exactly the same as what I put in, the 20 over 52, but IXL wants you to have your lowest possible fraction. I forgot to mention that. So again, this is a great time for you to practice on your own. Do a couple. I'm going to do a couple myself, and then we can reconvene and see if you have any questions. I cleared my screen, got ready for my next problem. By now, you've written SOH CAH TOA. It's super important you say this to yourself and get it deeply ingrained in your head. What are we looking for? We're looking for cosine. Which angle are we going from? We're standing at Y. That's the perspective we've got. So we've got the opposite at 72. We've got the hypotenuse at 97. And we've got the adjacent at 65. If we want cosine, we want adjacent over hypotenuse. So we're going to do 65 over 97. So you got to ask yourself, does that reduce? That's where we're going to get in trouble in IXL. So 65 over 97, I'm thinking that is completely reduced. Sweet. So in our next one, we've still got cosines. We're still going to do that CAH. This time we're going from S. So I've got opposite that I'm not going to use because I don't have sine and I don't have cosine, so I don't need the O. Or I don't have tangent, I want cosine. So then this is the H and the A, so 16 over 34. Both of those numbers are even, so I know I can at least divide them by 2. 16 divided by 2 is 8, and 34 divided by 2 is 17. 17 is a prime number, so I think we are done at that point. 8 over 17. I'm trying to get off a cosine, so I'm going to pause the video. It did give me some radicals here, so even though it's still cosine and we're doing adjacent over hypotenuse, so if I go from W, this is my O, don't need that. This is my H, and this is my A. So square root of 29 divided by the square root of 38. It says it wants it in rationalized form. This is something that I don't really want you guys to get into. So when you get a radical like that, just stop there. Because what they want you to do is get this radical out of the denominator. So we're going to put in this answer. It's going to tell me it's wrong, but that is what I want you to do. And then just click got it, because I don't want you to have to rationalize those. Let's see if we get a different cosine of G. So we're going to go from G. This is the O, this is the H, this is the A. I want cosine, so I need A over H. Make sure you reduce that. 14 over 35, 37. And I think that is going to be the most reduced. 14 over 37. I mistyped it. That makes me crazy. That happens. Now we've got sine. So CAH TOA. Sine is going to be O over H, and we're going to look from J. So if I'm looking from J, the opposite is the 24. The hypotenuse is the 26. So we're going to do 24 over 26. Both of those are even, so I can divide them by 2, 12 over 13. And I think that is going to be my answer, 12 over 13. We've got radicals again here, so I'm going to put in, if I'm going from F, opposite over hypotenuse, 4 divided by the square root of 42. IXL is not going to like that, but I don't want to spend time confusing you with how to rationalize radicals. You're going to get that in Algebra 2. So don't worry about that. Really what I want you to practice is just the sine, cosine, tangent. So now I've got cosine again. cosine adjacent over hypotenuse. So I'm going to start with F, go opposite. I don't need that. That means this is adjacent and this is hypotenuse because it's opposite that right angle. So we're going to have 27 over 45. This time I think they're both divisible by 3. So 27 divided by 3 is 9. Actually, they're both divisible by 9, I just realized. So you can do these in pieces or you can kind of do them as fast as you can. So 27 divided by 9 is 3, and 9 goes into 45 5 times. 5 times 9 is 45. 3 times 9 is 27. So my answer is 3 over 5. 3 over 5. Okay. And just keep on doing those. Try to get to a 50%. I think a 50% is going to be a really good score here. Just practice. Don't worry about the radicals. Take the L on those.